Today's episode of Necronomipod is brought to you by Beardology. There are a lot of imitators out there, but there's only one place I buy my beard oil. Beardology beard oil nourishes your skin and won't leave you with that greasy feel. With over 17 cents available in their extensive product line, I trust my beard to Beardology. You can find Beardology at beardology.co. Use code NECRO15 to receive 15% off your purchase. Beardology. Discover the best way to avoid the shave. LSD, sarin gas, military helicopters, and AK-47s. Today we discuss Aum Shinrikyo's transformation from a cult to a terrorist organization. We'll talk about some of their bumbled up early attacks and the preparation and implementation of their Armageddon attack on Tokyo in 1995. How were they caught? What becomes of Shoko Asahara? And does Aum Shinrikyo still exist today? We'll answer these questions and a whole lot more. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you thought the fat guy passing gas next to you on the subway was traumatic, stick around. These motherfuckers take it to a whole new level. This is Necronomipod.
The leader and founder of a Japanese doomsday cult was executed on Friday. Shoko Asahara, along with 6 senior members of the cult, were put to death for a deadly sarin attack in 1995. The Aum Shinrikyo cult was founded in 1984 and counted up to 40,000 members at its height. Around 30,000 of the followers were in Russia. The cult is regarded as a terrorist organization by several countries, including the US and Russia. It carried out a major sarin gas attack in the Tokyo underground 23 years ago. The cult founder went on a promotional campaign, giving speeches at the country's top universities and spending millions of dollars.
So it's officially over. The voting has stopped. I'm calling it a race. The official winner of the TV show challenge is Breaking Bad.
Woo! Good show.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to watch Breaking Bad. I'm going to do my best to finish it in 2019.
I thought you were going to say next week.
Because I have that much time on my hands. So what is it? 7 seasons, 12 episodes a season. Half-hour episodes.
No, that's an hour.
I asked you guys this before, and you told me half hour.
No one ever said
bitch.
that.
I swear I asked you guys.
Like 45 minutes, I guess, right?
I mean, if you commercial free, 48 minutes probably.
This is going to take longer than I thought then. All right.
Don't make up tales. We never told you that.
I swear I asked somebody, and they
the wrong
told me
person.
half-hour episodes.
And then you'll have the movie to watch at the end, because that comes out Friday.
All right. Well, that'll be a nice little nightcap on the series, I guess.
Looks good.
Breaking Bad won pretty handily.
Thanks for voting, everyone.
Yeah, we got quite a few votes. Got a lot of shows that got 1 vote, so sorry.
My contingency of Grey's Anatomy came through a little bit. Nice effort.
So funny story with that. About midway through the week, I disqualified Grey's Anatomy. I threw them out because people were making fake accounts and voting multiple times. So I disqualified Grey's Anatomy. That being said, they still only got 8 votes, which tied them for 3rd place with Dexter. So all you Dexter fans out there, just know that Grey's Anatomy almost beat you.
Well, they were all coming in at the same time.
Yeah, like literally 4 votes at one time from these Instagram accounts that just looked fake, that didn't even follow us, that I had never seen before.
Look, Mike may have disqualified you, Grey's Anatomy voters, but I applaud your efforts.
Well, you're applauding no one. It's spam accounts. Where did we say? It's people in Bangladesh or something like that.
A for effort, folks.
So Grey's Anatomy got disqualified, but even with those, even if I counted the fake votes, they wouldn't have even made the top 3. Dexter finished 3rd. Game of Thrones was 2nd, but Breaking Bad in the end was the winner.
It's a great show.
Can I stream it somewhere, or am I have to buy this shit?
Netflix has it.
Netflix has the whole thing.
Yeah. That's what I like to hear.
And the movie's Netflix. It's a Netflix original.
Perfect. All right. I know I'm gonna like it. I mean, it's
really good.
Not everyone can be wrong. And
it's my number 2 show ever.
And Game of Thrones is number 1.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, it's good.
So Breaking Bad is the official winner. I'll get started on that. I don't know, at some point, and I'll provide updates along the way.
Maybe we could sell shirts like Mike Breaking Bad or something.
Make him look
Sitting in his house watching TV.
Mike's Breaking Bad Marathon 2019. All right.
Smoking meth.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going that all in on it.
What'd they call it in that show?
The blue,
Blue something.
God, it's been so long, I don't remember.
Well, I'll let you guys know when I watch it.
Yeah, there you go.
Stand by for that one.
So pure, it's like crystal blue.
Yeah, it's a master.
Two other housekeeping things. One, just another quick shout out to our friends over at Pod Van Dam. They're always giving us plugs and shout outs on their show. And Justin just did a Hell in a Cell review and gave us a nice little shout out. So appreciate that, Justin. And Ed and Pat and Jonah do a great job with their show that they put out every, I think Sunday night is usually when it comes out, sometime on Sunday. But check out Pod Van Dam if you're a wrestling fan. Or if you're not a wrestling fan, still tune in if you want. But thanks to those guys. We appreciate the shout outs and support they give us. Last opening thing here. We talk enough about Art Bell and we plugged his show so much. You guys got him into the top 10 at one point. We're going to do a little Art Bell follow up on Halloween on Patreon. So if you guys are interested, get onto the Patreon. $5 for the month. You're going to get 3 shows with that every month, plus the private Discord chat room with us, and then other perks probably along the way, including this Art Bell episode. So we've been talking about doing a part 2 to it for a long time. I'm sure we'll do multiple parts of Art Bell, but this Halloween we're going to do a Patreon Art Bell episode. So if you're interested and if you're into that, get on the Patreon, give us a subscribe, and you can be a part of that.
I can't imagine not subscribing. What the hell's wrong with you?
Well, and on top of that, still next week, we're going to do another news episode.
It's a big hit last month.
People really enjoyed those. We did more than we did early in the show. We did news ones, and we all just did one story each. And they were okay, but we didn't really find our rhythm. The show we did a couple weeks ago on Patreon, where we each did a couple stories, I thought it was a great show.
We did dog fucking, cattle mutilation.
I feel like every time we've done a news story, there was some kind of bestiality involved.
Well, it's in the news.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
And every one of our stories, I think, involved Florida.
I don't write the news. I just report on it.
So anyways, that's the last bit of that. Patreon, patreon.com/Necronomipod. We're going to be doing an Art Bell follow-up on Halloween. Any hoodles, we have to finish Shinrikyo, and this goes like 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, this is where they get
There's no fuck schedules in this one.
No, absolutely not. No one's allowed to have sex anymore.
Except the main dude.
Yeah, well, of course.
Well, his dick ain't working with all that LSD.
I mean, in part 1, they got a little scary because he wanted to usher in Armageddon, or he got the thought of doing it with the botulism. But in this one, we're going to see them go from a semi-dangerous cult to a full-blown terrorist organization.
I mean, and some of the stuff, if they were successful, would be... It's insane.
Yeah.
The level of carnage they could have inflicted here.
I think you could make the argument that if everyone wasn't ripped up on LSD 24 hours a day, that they could have pulled off almost all of this stuff.
And we'll get into that, but that's kind of even comical as we're going to get into in this. Yeah. These people fuck up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They are the bumblebutts of the cult community.
Thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm laughing, but it's also extremely dangerous piece of shit human beings.
Yeah. So where we left off on part 1, Shinrikyo had checked off all the classic cult traits, and Shoko Asahara declared that the U.S. was their main enemy. So what he told his followers was that the reason they were sick all the time and people were dying wasn't because they were living like shit and killing people from dunking their heads in freezing water like we talked about, but it was because the U.S. was routinely spraying the compounds with biochemical weapons. Because that's reasonable.
Well, every cult needs a phantom enemy, right?
Yeah.
Wait, you mean a cult leader said something that was unreasonable?
Right. But that's particularly unreasonable.
It is very specific and very easily provable that it's not true.
Yeah. So along with Shoko Asahara creating this paranoia about the U.S., they did have real pressure coming at them They had family members of cult members trying to get them out. The Japanese media was starting to take more of a look at them, because we didn't talk about it in part one, but they did when they were doing their political campaigns and stuff. They were all wearing these paper mache heads of Shoko Asahara.
I looked at some of the videos of that. Yeah, it's wild.
So
that was, I think, was that what we used in our teaser picture?
Yeah. So they stuck out, So the media was like, what's going on with this group? And the police were starting to get suspicious of them.
But they didn't really move right away. It's kind of like in this country where, you're a religion, so we give you this broad latitude and we're afraid to crack down on you.
Yeah.
Because of the religious freedom aspect.
And one of the things I was watching about that had a few people from Japan, like historians, talking about stuff, and they were saying that the Japanese government is really, really wary even today of questioning religions and pushing back, because they don't want to even give the impression that they're going to like a post-world or pre-World War II scenario.
With the emperor, where that was the religion.
Right, with like that state-sponsored religion. Exactly. Like they don't even want to give the hint that they're pushing for that. So
this is what it leads to, though.
Yeah. The thing to understand, too, about Aum Shinrikyo is that 95% of them didn't know that they were trying to make biological weapons and mass producing LSD. So all of this outside hostility that was coming towards them was confirming their belief in Shoko Asahara, because they're like, hey, we're just doing our own thing here.
Just getting shocked in the head, pissing in our diapers. Like, we're just living the good life in these gorgeous communes they built for us.
So only this core group was focused on this, on this weaponry, whatever program. So, 95% of the people had no idea.
Yeah, they
So
didn't
what were they
know.
doing, though?
They were just following Shoko Asahara as the guru.
But they had no idea of really like the broader plan, right?
No, I mean, he would always talk about...
surprised these people were being duped?
No.
Okay.
I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, I mean, he would talk about...
They were a bunch of neats, right, Ian?
No, they were...
Damn it.
They were no. They were
Still
otakus.
don't truly know that word.
Yeah, I kind of blended those two together last week. Neats don't leave their houses, and they're...
That's right. Ed from Pod Van Dam corrected us on that.
Otakus are just nerds.
Okay.
Which is what Shinrikyo went after.
Wait, one's nerds and one's don't leave their house? That's not the same thing?
Neats are like uneducated.
Neckbeards.
yes.
Right.
Otakus are just like nerdy
Just
people.
nerdy, yeah.
But like smart.
Really,
like
really smart.
Scientists and...
Yeah.
Okay.
All they knew was that Shoko Asahara was talking about Armageddon all the time and stuff like that, but they didn't know that he was had it in the back of his head that he was going to make Armageddon happen eventually on his own.
Just foot soldiers.
Yeah, basically. At this point in the story, this is where you get Shoko Asahara going from this con artist that was, scamming people with this whole medicine and the whole levitation shit, to him being so fucked up on LSD at all times that he starts believing in his own shit, that he is this this godly figure that's going to lead Japan through Armageddon, and he's having all these visions while on LSD, and he's sold on his own shit at this point.
Worked himself into a shoe.
Exactly.
He really believes this hype now.
Yeah.
Look, scam all these people and then you're doing fucking acid every day. You're going to start to believe your own story eventually.
That's where people
Is acid LSD? Is that the same thing?
Yeah. And that's where people get super
I'm straight
dangerous.
edge, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah. But like Jim Jones, by the end, was believing the shit that he was spouting out about the CIA and all that stuff. And that's where people get dangerous, these leaders.
True believers.
Mm-hmm. So with all this pressure coming from outside places, Shoko Asahara decided that it was time to arm his followers. He purchased a failing ironworks plant and gutted it, and then moved all the machinery to another building. Then he put his followers to work manufacturing AK-47s from scratch on a massive scale. The goal was to have every member of Aum Shinrikyo armed with an AK-47 by the end of 1995.
So we're talking about the NRA now?
So we're talking like at minimum 10,000 AK-47s.
Get to work, people.
He's producing here, or wanting to produce.
Machine gun, every man, woman, and child.
Yeah.
hopped up on LSD wearing diapers and helmets. Man, what a sight.
Making AK-47.
Great plan.
Getting shocked every 2 minutes. Every time you shock, little piss squirts out.
Look, I think we determined 6 volts isn't that much.
I don't
Somebody
know.
posted this
All
week
you
with
battery lickers can tell me.
Somebody posted a picture of a tongue on a 9-volt battery. That's what I'm talking about.
Who posted a picture of that?
Somewhere.
On Facebook, I think.
Someone posted a picture of themselves licking a 9-volt
No, it was
battery.
like a meme.
Yeah, like admit it, you tried this meme.
Yeah.
I did not try it, so I don't have to admit to that.
So this project, this AK-47 factory, it was going to cost $10 million, or estimated to cost $10 million. But to Aum Shinrikyo, that was nothing, because at this time, they were estimated to have $200 million at their disposal. So, I mean, $10 million?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is it his wife's money still, or is it just everything they absorb from people giving everything they own to the cult?
Yeah, people absorb. They absorbed so much money, and then
That's amazing.
we'll get in later to a really wealthy woman that gave them a fuck ton of money.
So they probably had a few of those at least, and or guys even too.
Yeah,
$200 million.
yeah, and that's just. I mean, they end up being worth more than that, but at this time, when he's trying to manufacture these AK-47s,
So that had to be like the richest cult up until this point.
yeah,
Like, do we know what Jonestown had rolling in, or Children of God, Heaven's Gate?
Jonestown, conservative estimate for Jonestown was 13 million, but it's debated because all those off-sea bank accounts disappeared, so no one really knows. Scientology, I guess, would probably be worth more.
Were they around at this point? I don't know when Scientology started.
Yeah, they started in the 70s.
Oh, did they?
Those guys have real estate holdings all over the world.
Yeah.
They have a ton of money.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to bring us down when we inevitably do a show on them and trash them.
They can sue us for our microphones.
Take it, bros. You can have the koozie off my beer.
Yeah.
And our back merch inventory.
Yeah. Aside from the AK-47s, at this factory, they built a fully functioning railgun, some high-powered lasers, thousands of pounds of TNT, and on top of all this, they were still pursuing some type of biological or chemical weapon. So, I mean, they're trying to... He's in the process of trying to build an army here.
Clearly.
But the thing that Shoko Asahara wanted more than anything was a nuclear bomb, and he would head over to Russia to try and acquire one. I mean, that was the goal here.
All good cults have to have a nuclear bomb.
When he showed up in Russia, he would start holding these sold out events. They were huge. So thousands of people would come to him. And at these events, he would just sit in a chair in the middle of a big field with huge video screens that flashed pictures of him crucified like Jesus.
When we do live shows, that's what it's going to be like.
Of course.
We're just going to sit in big chairs.
And just flash pictures of us.
Crucified. Yeah.
No, I'm going to be in my bondage photos from BTK. That'll be what flashes for me. Dave can be crucified, and I don't know, Ian can be probed by aliens.
There you go.
And we'll just sit there for 2 hours and these play, and we just sit there and drink beer and just look at the crowd.
We'll telepathically communicate with everyone.
Yeah. And we'll charge $200 a ticket.
It sounds like a plan.
$400 if you want a meet and greet before the show. Where you get to just crush beers with us. It's all coming together.
After this went on for a while with these flashing pictures, he would lead the whole group in this like mass meditation ritual. And man, Russians ate it up. He gained tons of followers from these events, and by the end of 1995 or mid 1995, he had 30,000 followers in Russia alone.
Which is more than he had in Japan, right?
Yeah, he only had he had around 10,000 in Japan.
It's nuts.
Yeah, Russia, they were all in on him.
Yeah,
man.
they took to him.
Yeah.
Well, and it was right after the fall of the Soviet Union where people were probably looking for, religion because it hadn't been something they were allowed to have
Yeah,
prior.
These falling of like empires and things really played out perfectly for him.
Yeah.
Because
They're like lost people, I
Yeah.
guess, in a sense. Like they don't.
I mean,
They get a sense of family and belonging, and I don't know.
he capitalized on it in Japan and then went and and pulled the same thing off in Russia.
Well, and it was a transitional time. I can't imagine, Putin letting this fucking clown in, modern, like right now.
No.
That wouldn't happen.
No.
It was just the country was in chaos back then.
These cornfield shows must have been awesome.
Well, the thing about the cornfield shows too is they stopped them because someone thought that they were funny and started letting packs of feral dogs out to attack everybody. And so they stopped holding them in the middle of a field.
Now, that's funny.
Yeah, some Russian person was just letting stray dogs go on the whole crowd.
All right. God damn, can you imagine being in that crowd and a pack of dogs just starts charging?
Yeah.
Why don't you just levitate and escape the dog?
I don't know what's going on over there with these dogs.
Just don't be the slowest runner.
Obviously, he really liked, he was thrilled about all these new followers, but what he really was after was Russian scientists who had knowledge of nuclear and chemical warfare. And like you were saying, with the fall of the Soviet Union, there were tons of military scientists out of a job, and Shoko Asahara was right there to give them a new one.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
I mean, hundreds of guys that were like, how am I going to feed my family now kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they have one trade, which is how to make a nuclear bomb.
How to manufacture plutonium.
Yeah.
Oh, shit,
yeah.
he's got all this money to use, at his disposal.
There were lots of movies in the 90s, doomsday movies with that same scenario, if I remember. Like Eastern European, countries trying to buy nuclear material from renegade Soviet scientists and bringing the bomb to New York City. And
I think we've established I don't watch a ton of movies. What movies might
like was it like The Peacemaker with George Clooney? There was a couple other ones.
Was that his post-ER days?
I believe it was, yeah.
Okay.
So not really relevant. Just throwing it out there.
Well, he was never able to pull off actually buying a nuclear bomb or a nuclear warhead.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, or get enough plutonium to make a dirty bomb, because that turned into the second thing when he realized that he wasn't going to be able to get a warhead. Then the plan went to getting enough plutonium to create a dirty bomb, but that didn't pan out for them either. But what they did get from Russia, they bought a military grade helicopter for $700,000, I believe, which
It's a good deal.
yeah, it was capable of being equipped with 128 rockets, 4 anti-tank missiles, and had a 12.7 millimeter automatic gun mounted to the front.
That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
God damn, man.
Well, the thing too is with the Soviet Union falling, they had equipped like all these areas of Russia with tons of fucking weapons. So when it fell, all these places in Russia were like, well, we don't really need all this. So they started selling them off. So it was like a fucking fire sale over there.
Cleaned up.
Shit, yeah. Yeah, so they left with this military helicopter.
Well, there's that whole other story where those cocaine dealers bought a submarine, right? Like the same kind of deal?
I'm not
Transport
familiar with that
cocaine? Like there's tons of stories like this.
Yeah, they were just ready to sell it all off.
Just a bunch of dealers rolling underwater with all their coke.
Yeah, it's just crazy stuff.
The goal for this helicopter was to use it for the biggest score that they got from Russia, which was the recipe for sarin gas. Shoko Asahara wanted this helicopter fitted with a spraying device where they could fly it over Tokyo and spray sarin gas over the city, which would effectively wipe out at least half of Tokyo. And thankfully, they were never able to learn how to fly this thing properly.
It'd be hilarious watching videos of them like after they get back trying to fly this thing and just struggling.
Yeah, there's also stories too that after they realized they couldn't fly it, that they tried to get they got like these little drone kind of things, like these little helicopters, and were trying to do it that way, but they kept crashing. They could never figure out that whole flying thing.
It's because the Earth's flat. They didn't take that into account.
True.
We've proven that tenfold on this show.
So just touching on sarin gas for a second. A person can die from being exposed to sarin gas within 10 minutes of inhaling it. The symptoms start with a runny nose, tightness in the chest, and soon after, the person will have difficulty breathing, experience nausea and drooling. And as they continue to lose control of bodily functions, they start vomiting, defecate, and urinate. And then this phase is followed by twitching and jerking, and ultimately the person just goes into a coma and suffocates. And if a person happens to survive a sarin gas attack, chances are they're going to suffer from lifelong neurological damage. And it's a very, very brutal gas.
It's kind of similar to the symptoms you suffer after listening to Britney Spears music. Eerily similar.
No, it didn't say orgasm. Twitching and jerking, no orgasm.
Twitching and jerking.
Yeah. Close, though. Almost the same. Drooling, yeah. Usually some defecation. No vomiting. Depends how much I had to drink.
This is sarin gas or a post Britney Spears concert ER report?
I have not seen Britney live, unfortunately.
Neither has anyone else.
That is not true. She sells out Vegas, man.
So sticking with this whole anime plot line of things, Shinrikyo would start mass producing sarin liquid in a lab that they named Seitan 7.
What does that mean? Is that an anime movie, Seitan 7?
I don't know exactly what it means, but it certainly sounds like it would be like some kind of like a space station or something. Right. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
We got Google here, guys.
In this warehouse type building, they had a huge golden statue of Shiva the Destroyer. And then underneath of this, in like this hidden room, was a room that they called the Room of Genesis, where scientists worked on weaponizing the sarin liquid. Once the scientists felt that they had purified the sarin liquid to the point of being ready to weaponize it, Shinrikyo went over to Australia to test it out.
Oh, well, everyone over there probably has stockpile sarin gas in the penal colony. They probably just fit right in.
That just played right up for him to continue that thrashing of that beautiful Australian land.
Sarin, Australian for something.
You almost had it.
I lost it at the end there. Foster's, Australian for beer.
I don't think I've ever had Foster's. Have you?
Maybe I had it on a cruise. Yeah, we drank it on a cruise one time because it was half as much as everything else. Like, so you got those big 32-ounce tubs or what, like big barrels for like $5. It was a really good deal. Yeah, it's all right. It's not my favorite. Yeah, it was really cheap.
Yeah, I've never had it.
Maybe I'll do a Foster's Day in here one night just to give back to them since Dave shits on them so much.
Crikey.
So they went down to Australia and they bought a ranch with a ton of sheep, tied them all up, and released the sarin gas on them. And it killed them, all of the sheep, almost instantly. Which I wonder, I don't know how far exactly sarin gas spreads, like what the whole mile radius is on that. That just seems the lack of concern for anybody else. Just to be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna fucking let this off.
Like
here.
ranchers downwind or something. You mean?
Yeah, they just let off the sarin gas. So with this success, they would do their first sarin gas attack on the town of Matsumoto, Japan, on June 28th, 1994. And that's other thing too with them is they're like famous for this the big one at the end, but they've
wasn't the
tried
first,
this
right?
multiple times. Yeah.
So we talked about most members being in the dark. Are they still in the dark?
Yes.
Okay.
There's this inner circle of people that are in on this whole plot line of going out and killing people and.
So it's kind of like a side project of the cult then. It's not like the stated objective or anything if no one even knows about it.
Yeah, and we'll get into at the end. I think that's a big reason why people still believe in Shoko Asahara to this day is a lot of people refuse to believe that he had anything to do with this stuff at all. So
they think who was doing it then?
It's just like a government conspiracy kind of thing. Didn't have anything to do with them. By this time in Japan, Shinrikyo was a known quantity, and when they were opening up a compound in an area, like when they came in to open up a new one, people generally did not want them to move in. They're like, all right, we don't want
that new Shinrikyo place is open at the corner.
Right, yeah.
Great.
Like, no, we don't want
put
you.
One of those microwaves in where they roast people and you have to scrape their remains off and flush them down the toilet.
We had to bring that back up again.
That was the worst part of the whole story last week. The microwave. They cook some and you scrape their crust off the side and flush it.
Flush them down the toilet.
Got to do the same thing when you make a Hot Pocket in the microwave too. starts exploding out the sides of it. You got to go clean that shit up.
You don't eat those cold like SpaghettiOs?
Well, no, those are frozen, Dave.
Oh.
That'd be ridiculous.
Excuse me.
Also, get out of here with the ham and cheese Hot Pockets. I have no time for those. Give me the pepperoni pizza ones or the turkey and broccoli.
I don't enjoy Hot Pockets.
I don't either. I mean, they're not my favorite thing.
That's just garbage.
Well, as opposed to everything else that we eat. The SpaghettiOs out of a can.
Hey, like they cook on one side, this side burns, this side's cold.
I agree.
You burn your fingers, you burn your mouth.
You got to clean the microwave.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Give me something else.
Yeah, I agree.
That's our junk food talk for the week.
There you go.
And fuck you, Hot Pockets. Let's go.
When they got this pushback for trying to move into a new area, most of the time these land disputes were resolved in the Japanese court system. But now they had the sarin gas, and this particular land dispute in Matsumoto, Japan, ended in murder. The plan was to go back to their original plan we talked about in part 1, which was just hooking up a spraying device to a car's exhaust and then just spraying the sarin gas, killing the 3 judges that were going to rule against them in this land dispute. But like almost all things that Shinrikyo did, this plan was just full of fuck-ups. First, the head of the operation slept in that day.
Like you're going to murder people in the morning, you can't even wake up on time. Fucking clowns.
Also, the van that they were driving, it took hundreds of pounds of equipment to get this chemical reaction of the sarin liquid to go off and then to spray it everywhere. I mean, this was a pretty elaborate system. So the van, and they had 5 cult members in the van too. So it was so weighed down that the van could only go 30 miles per hour.
That's great.
So they were really running behind here. So they arrived way past their scheduled time and didn't get to the supermarket parking lot that they were planned to release the gas at until 9 p.m. that night. And I mean, they were supposed to be there like in the afternoon.
It's like bumbling idiots. Yeah. So this was an apartment building, right, that they were targeting?
Yeah, it was like a dormitory where these judges were staying. Because there were tons of other people living in these dorms, but they were like, you know what, fuck it,
collateral damage.
We're we're poeing everybody. You know, it's okay.
What was the word? Poeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the thought behind it. It was like, yeah, we're accomplishing what we want to accomplish, and everybody else is just, you know, they're getting to nirvana faster.
Yeah, that's right. You're skipping purgatory.
Yeah, exactly. So when they were in the van and they started the chemical reaction to create the gas, they botched it.
Of course they did.
And the van filled up with white smoke, which was hydrogen chloride.
It's like a Cheech and Chong movie.
It really is.
And that's confirmed to have really happened because a young kid that was taking out trash at the supermarket saw the van fill up with this white smoke and heard a bunch of muffled yelling and coughing going on inside the van.
That's funny.
But eventually they got their shit together and pulled off releasing the sarin gas, which resulted in 5 deaths and over 150 people suffering severe neurological damage.
All right, well, that's not fun.
Yeah. The plan actually worked because the judges were among the injured, and now Shoko Asahara was super confident in their attack capabilities, so he decided that he wanted to start training ground troops. So now he's going to
really fucking believe in his own hype.
Oh, yeah. Because he just pulled off a successful attack. I mean,
he didn't kill him. Didn't he want? He wanted to kill the judges.
Yeah,
he didn't do that.
But he still won the land dispute because of it. Because they completely dropped the case.
Oh,
yeah.
Terrified, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So he's starting like a private cult army now.
Yeah,
they're like a Mr. Muggs to run the General Muggs.
Run
this operation.
Muggs only runs fuck schedules, and clearly that was not happening here.
His first plan that he came up with was to father a group of children and turn them into child assassins. Like literal like child ninjas.
He really shoots for the stars, doesn't he?
This is getting off track for this guy.
Yeah. But
this is where it gets off track, Dave. Not attacking judges.
But with Armageddon coming up soon, because he was saying 1999, so I mean, it's not a lot of time to get women pregnant have them give
Yeah,
birth.
what
and
year?
then
We're like in 94.
this is
So they're going to be 5 years old by then.
Yeah, like what was the trigger where he went, oh wait, I don't have 16, 18 years to let this army mature and train into assassins.
Well, he wanted them to be like actual kids, like in the age range of
like a
like
child assassin.
like 8 to 9 years old. Yeah, but he didn't have enough time to pull off that plan.
Couldn't he have just disguised some of his people as kids, running around in their diapers anyways?
No, he wanted it to be his children.
Oh.
They had to come from him.
His arrogance, man.
Yeah. So he settled for a plan to train a large group of members as just a straight up military regiment and called them the Soldiers of White Love.
What does that name mean? Anything?
It's not a great name.
No?
That was the original name of the KKK before they came up with the KKK.
The group trained from 8 a.m. till midnight every day.
That's it?
Yeah.
You train longer than that every day.
At least. I'd do double that in a day.
All this was for a day that Shoko Asahara started talking about, and he called it X Day. On X Day, the soldiers of White Love would all be injected with the antidote for sarin gas and storm Japan's government buildings during this planned helicopter sarin attack that he had planned. And then once the government was overthrown, Shoko Asahara would be put in charge as the, quote, holy monk emperor. So, I mean, he has got some grand plans in his head at this point.
Where's that name come from?
The holy monk emperor.
Did we talk about that last week?
No, that was a new thing because his original plan was to have a Buddha in every country.
That's what it was,
Yeah.
Buddha. And,
Yeah, but now he's going to be the holy monk emperor.
Plans have changed.
Yeah. But I mean, the scary thing is about this stuff is, and we'll see when they get caught in their stockpile, that could be a 100% reality, what he was talking about doing there. That could have, if they could have flown that helicopter, that could have been a reality.
I don't think the sarin gas antidote works like that, though. Like you can't just shoot yourself out with antidote and then go spray sarin gas and you're immune. That's not how antidote works.
Yeah.
Well, as with all their other plans, these were maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, that part's not accurate.
I mean, a gas mask maybe, but I don't.
Well, that's too obvious, Dave. You can't run around in a gas mask.
Well, I mean, I also don't think that. I mean, I'm sure that the U.S. would have intervened in this and been like, yeah, you're not going to be this holy monk emperor. You know what I mean?
We're going to remove you from power now.
But I think it's plausible that, I mean, we'll see later on what they're capable of. So by the end of 1994, Aum Shinrikyo would have over 40,000 followers in at least 6 different countries, close to $1 billion in assets, and a stockpile of weapons that could easily kill thousands of people.
$1 billion.
Yep.
And he still can't give his motherfuckers houses to live in.
Oh, no.
Those nasty ass communes.
And up until this point, everything against them had been circumstantial in the minds of the police. There was really nothing concrete to go on, but Aum Shinrikyo would give the police something concrete, and Armageddon could no longer wait until 1999, and it needed to happen now in 95.
Did God tell them to up the timeline?
Why don't you wait till after this break and we'll tell you.
See you then.
We like to drink beer, a lot of it. After a long night of drinking and talking crime and conspiracies, there's nothing that wakes us up and gets us ready to start the day better than Just Brew coffee. With a great selection of roast levels to choose from, you're guaranteed to find one that suits your style. Small batch roasted to highlight the unique features of each coffee bean, Just Brew coffee caters to both casual and hardcore coffee drinkers alike. Since 2010, Just Brew Coffee has worked tirelessly to perfect the roasting process and technique, which has resulted in seriously delicious, always flavorful, and never bitter tasting coffee. If you're already drinking JBC, raise your mug. If you're not, raise your standards. Check them out in social media, and remember, they roast, you just brew.
Check out their new online store at youjustbrew.com and up your coffee game today. Use code NECRO15 to receive 15% off your order of 2 pounds or more.
All right, we just dropped some LSD. Now we're back. See where it takes us.
So up until this point, Aum Shinrikyo had pretty much been invincible to any real repercussions for anything. But they would finally find themselves in some real trouble with the kidnapping and murder of 68-year-old Kiyoshi Korea. Korea's sister had been a top donor of Aum Shinrikyo for years and had given almost $600,000 to the cult over the years.
Wow.
Yeah. And when this wasn't enough for them, they started to pressure her to sell her property as well. And she said, fuck this, and left the cult. She was like, all right, that's where I'm drawing the line. So Shoko Asahara, pissed off, and not so much that a member left, but that all that money went away, sent members to go track her down and bring her back.
Even when they have $1 billion in assets, they're worrying about one person leaving like that.
Yeah, I think it was more about the land. I think he wanted that land for himself. Was kind of what it sounded like. This 4-man group he sent out to go find her figured that the best way to track her down would be to kidnap and torture Kiyoshi Korea to find her whereabouts.
Was this another ninja hit squad?
Yeah, but it wasn't. It didn't sound like it was. Like, because the last one was a martial arts expert, a doctor, and so this sounded more like this. These were like 4 of these just straight up nerds that he sent out to go kidnap this guy.
The perfect kidnap squad. Right. Sure.
So one night after stalking Kiyoshi, they tranquilized him, threw him in a van, and took him back to one of the compounds. And again, spoiler alert, if you have a bunch of people wrecked on LSD and they tranquilize an old man and torture him, chances are that there's going to be an accident and that hostage is going to end up dying on accident. And that's exactly what happened to Kiyoshi Korea.
Damn.
They accidentally killed him.
Yeah, well, didn't see that coming.
So they disposed the body using the microwave machine.
The microwave machine. It's the worst.
It's terrible.
But what they didn't know is that Kiyoshi had caught on to the fact that they were stalking him, and he wrote a letter to his son saying that he feared something was going to happen to him at the hands of Aum Shinrikyo. So with this letter, police, they had something concrete to go on, and they started to plan a massive raid on the main Tokyo compound.
It's about time, right?
Yeah. And like we talked about in part 1, Aum Shinrikyo had members in the police and in the military, so they caught wind of this raid as soon as it started to be planned. And there was no way to cover anything up at this point because they're mass producing AK-47s, they're making sarin liquid, they're mass producing LSD, and they have this fucking Russian helicopter parked at the compound. I mean,
yeah, I saw the videos of the helicopter park there. It's wild. It's just sitting out in the courtyard.
So you can't exactly just pack up shop and go
No.
hide.
Right.
no,
We got to fly the helicopter to safety.
When they can't do that.
So, and that's the thing that gets that if when you initially just hear about Aum Shinrikyo, is you're like, oh, this guy, this crazy cult leader is just bringing upon his own religious Armageddon. This was more about covering up what they were doing. I mean, it's a little bit of both, but it's more that they were trying to get out of this police raid than anything else.
Meaning they were caught. If the police raided them, they could not hide all the stuff. They were going to go down. So let's take these drastic measures to completely change the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with nowhere to turn, Shoko Asahara decided that it was time for the Armageddon that he had been planning.
So they were forced into it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't their fault.
The police left him with no other move.
Yeah, what are they going to do, right?
Don't mess with the bull, you get the horns.
His first...
Got any other good sayings you want to throw out?
If you smell what the Rock is cooking. Be the man, you have to beat the man. I did not have sex with that young woman.
Life is like a box of chocolates.
Oh, greatest movie of all time. As voted by literally everyone.
Not anyone with taste. No, that's not true.
That is insane. And still, I was thinking about that all week. I do not understand how people do not like that movie.
Because it's
dumb. Amazing. It's amazing. It is so good.
It's not great.
It's really good.
No, it's not great.
What part of that movie is not good?
All of it.
Just the whole.
It is
the whole plot line.
fantastic.
I don't really have anything else to say on this matter.
Said my piece.
with this now being a rushed operation and having to, because we're in 95 and this Armageddon was something he was planning on working towards until 99. So Shoko Asahara is kind of like scrambling and brainstorming about what to do. And his first plan was to use a huge laser to slice the Tokyo Police Department in half.
Now that would have been fun to watch.
Well,
Like the literal building itself?
yes, just slice it in half.
Right down the middle.
Why don't they just call Godzilla to come and step on it?
Well, they were working on that, Dave. But shh. That wasn't supposed to get out.
Well, I mean, that is most likely a completely LSD fueled idea.
You don't say.
But they were testing massive weapons grade lasers. There's eyewitness reports of the Tokyo compound just lighting up like fucking glowing super bright at night from laser tests that they were doing in there. And there were also blueprints found for like this kind of laser energy field that would just disintegrate someone that walked into it. Like they were trying.
Damn.
It seems, I don't know what the realistic ability to make something like that is, but
So on these compounds where these people are living in filth, did they just have like one building that was like state of the art that like they were testing and making these lasers in and this sarin gas and like the working on nuclear weapons, or like
they weren't state of the art from what I
really? So they were just working in terrible conditions.
Yeah, and that's why, like in part one, we were talking about there were a lot of accidents happening.
Yeah,
where people were dying because they're sitting
getting
there
shot with lasers.
Right, you got a bunch of people all fucked up working on these lasers and building rail guns and shit. I mean,
I don't think I want to shock a guy in the head who's working on a laser. I feel like that might not be safe.
Well, can you imagine even just hitting a joint a couple times and playing with lasers? These guys are fucking dropping acid all day long and playing with lasers.
That's why I swear to straight edge lifestyle. 'Cause when I'm playing with lasers, I want a clear mind.
yeah, I mean,
I applaud you.
Yeah, it's very
I
difficult.
applaud that.
It's very difficult being straight edge, Dave.
when Shoko's scientists told him, when they're like, hey, that's a great idea and everything, but it's going to take a minute to build a laser like that.
Love the idea, but we might need to put a pin in that for a little bit. We're not going to be sawing buildings in half tomorrow.
I'm digging the enthusiasm, Shoko. Don't get me wrong.
We're going to get there. Please don't kill me. I've already poo-pooed in my diaper twice today.
I took 25 hits of blotter this morning, so I don't really know exactly what you're saying right now.
So then his next idea was to use that Russian helicopter and spray the whole city with LSD. but again, they couldn't figure out how to fly it, so that was out of the question.
Yeah.
Aum Shinrikyo got the word that the raid had an official date of March 21st, 1995. And out of ideas, Shoko Asahara turned to the only thing that had technically worked in the past, which was the sarin gas. Because they had all this stuff in production, but the only thing that ever panned out for them as far as this shit was concerned.
When it was the stuff they had ready to go.
Yeah. Because, we didn't even talk about their attempts with anthrax, and they fucked around with the Ebola virus and stuff. Like, they were...
And just stuff that never really went anywhere, though. Like, they just kind of tested with it.
Yeah. So for their target, they picked an area that would cause the most chaos, which was the Tokyo subway system. Just to give an idea of like the chaos it would cause, the Tokyo subway system is the most efficient subway in the world, and on average 5 million people ride it daily. That's a lot of people.
Wow.
Yeah.
We can't even get the fucking bus system right here.
In our town?
Yeah.
No, we cannot. No.
There's rarely ever delays, either from what I was looking at with the Tokyo subway system. They don't have late.
Yeah.
That shit is like scientifically laid out.
Does New York get delayed? Like, is theirs always late? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and like Tokyo's the
Americans.
most, it's the cleanest, safest, generally the city in the world.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff to take place there is crazy. So I'm going to Japan next year, so maybe I will try to get to this spot and take some photos.
There we go. Put it on the blog.
I'll blog about it.
Blog.
I'll blog it.
So, like all things with Shinrikyo, they picked the most bumbling way to scout out this mission. They sent out 4 cult members to scout the subway system, and they were all dressed identical.
This is the funniest part of the story.
Uniforms, man. Professional.
They were wearing like tan blazers, blue pants, sunglasses, the hospital masks, and the leader, for whatever reason, was wearing this big white wig, like this comical white wig.
He was probably an attorney in 18th century England.
Well, he didn't want to be recognized on cameras. That's smart, man.
So
Also, it
outrageous.
signifies importance in that you're the captain of the team. In some sports, they wear a C on their jerseys. He wears the white wig. Means you're in charge. Projects power.
I mean, I don't know. I guess
You mean to tell me if there's someone wearing a wig in a room, they're not in charge? Someone comes in this room right now with a wig on, they're the new producer of the show. And that's just the way it
is
is.
that how you assert your dominance over things?
You wear
I didn't know that was a thing, but
You wear a wig.
okay.
Halloween, it's anarchy. It's a bunch of alphas running around. Every man for themselves.
So if you don't wear a white wig, you're a beta cuck then, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So we had this guy running around with his white wig and the other 3 being beta cucks in their khaki jackets and their blue pants and their hospital masks.
It's because that doesn't look suspicious or anything.
Not at
Like
all.
your whole face is covered up with the hospital mask and sunglasses.
So they were
Plus
pretty much
the white wig. They're like, look at this fucking guy.
So no one noticed them. They were pretty much incognito.
I imagine them all walking in 4 people in a line too. Meanwhile, BG Staying Alive's playing.
Well, they took notes on everything, and even down to how long the doors on the subway cars stayed open. Like they had this thing planned out to perfection. The official plan was to hit 3 of Tokyo's busiest subway lines. Each member carrying out the attack would carry 2 plastic bags filled with 20 ounces of sarin liquid and wrap those bags in newspaper so they would be less noticeable. When they were in position, and at the same exact time that they planned, they would drop the bags and puncture them with an umbrella that had a sharpened metal tip. If done correctly and on time, the 3 subway lines would converge right at the Tokyo police station while the police station was on shift change, and also right as the sarin gas was reaching maximum toxicity. Because with sarin gas, from what I was looking at, like it's the liquid, and then as it evaporates, it releases the gas.
So once it hits air, it turns into gas form then?
Right.
Okay.
And it takes a couple minutes, but it like the toxicity just rises with it. So they had timed it where when those 3 subway lines got to the Tokyo
Everyone's
police,
getting off the train.
Yep. And it's going to reach its maximum toxicity right at the police station.
They weren't martyrs, right? They were getting out of there in the getaway cars.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, nobody was dying in this situation.
They had the gas masks and the wigs, Dave. They were fine. That's all you need.
So the 5 chosen members to do this, to carry out the attack, were Dr. Ikuo God damn it.
It's Hakuna Matata.
Ladies and gentlemen, Japanese Ian.
Dr. Ikuo Hayashi. Yasuo Hayashi, he was an electronics engineer. Kenichi Hiroshi was a physicist who graduated at the top of his class and turned down a job to join Shinrikyo.
Good career move.
Matsumoto Akiyama, who was also a physicist, and then Toru Toyota, which was also a physicist. So these were very, very educated, smart people.
But no ninjas or samurais and kind of a quasi-military operation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, even better, that Toro Toyota guy invented the Corolla. So it's better than a Ninja. The thing will last forever. That was really dumb, joke. I apologize for everyone that heard me say that.
Chief scientist Haiichi Endo was working to produce the sarin liquid needed for the attack. And I mean, because this was rushed and he was working really fast to do this, he was only able to get it 30% pure, which saved thousands of lives.
Do you think all these scientists were getting pissed that Asahara just kept rushing them on all of their projects? Like, hey, we need this done. Hey, I want to do this. Like the laser shit we just talked about, and now this.
It sounded like this Haiichi Endo knew that it was 30% pure, but he was telling Shoko Asahara that it was like, oh, this is
You
great.
want to look good in front of the boss.
Like, this is great. This is going to kill everybody. But in his head, or he knew, he was like, yeah, this is not.
There's going to be an awkward conversation in his future.
Yeah, this is not the greatest sarin liquid I've ever produced.
It's not my best work of sarin, deadly gas, but it'll get the job done.
Maybe it's a defense argument in the future.
Yeah, you never know.
He's a scientist. He's smart. He's thinking ahead.
Yep.
So in a really, really ritualistic meeting the night before the attack, the members of the attack team practiced stabbing bags filled with water to get it just right, and doing all this in front of the giant statue of Shiva the Destroyer.
On LSD, presumably, as well, I assume.
Could you imagine
That would be
that?
a safe guess, I
Yeah.
think.
I don't even know what would be going
I
through
wish
your
there was
head.
video of that meeting.
What was the other story we discussed where guys were practicing in a field and we called it LARPing? That wasn't Skinwalker, was it?
No. Oh, yeah. It was
when they're in the field practicing?
the fucking the skinwalkers, how they practice how to act like animals.
LARPing.
They did this for hours, just multiple bags, just figuring out the right way to poke it, because I mean, too hard, it's going to shoot up at them. You know, they had to figure it out. So on the morning of March 20th, 1995, each attacker was dropped off at their assigned areas of the Tokyo subway system, armed with 20 ounces of sarin liquid and a syringe of the sarin antidote.
See, they had the antidote, Dave. They were safe.
Well, and 20 ounces is pretty small. It's easy to conceal. That's like a road
Oh,
beer.
yeah.
I hide those in the car all the time.
We're really good at that.
That's easy.
We're really good at that. 24 ounces, really, if you take 2 cans.
Sure.
As any good road drinker would do.
Why is it illegal for the passenger
It's
to
upsetting.
drink beer?
I know.
Never got that.
Yeah, I
Like
don't
in
know.
Louisiana, it's not. They have drive up, margarita stands and whatnot.
I think that I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be allowed to be shit-faced in the passenger seat.
I agree.
Agree. Where's it? In Mississippi, is it where it's legal to drink beer while you're driving, as long as you're under the limit? I think it's Mississippi.
That sounds pretty
Really?
wild.
It's true, yeah.
Are you sure it's not Florida?
I think it's
Florida, there is just no drinking and driving laws. It's also no driving laws. You don't need a license.
Just do whatever the fuck you want.
You
down
just
there.
do whatever you want.
I think it's Mississippi.
No, ain't that the life? I'm not moving to Mississippi.
No?
No.
Sounds great down there.
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, really, it sounds great. I don't want to make fun of another state. I think I hit Arkansas not too long ago.
We called out Kansas, and then someone hit us up.
I love
think,
all
on
the
Instagram.
states
It was like,
equally.
I'm from Kansas.
All the states equally are great.
Well, except the ones that are 75 years behind us.
So they were all dropped off. They were all undetected except for
Akuna Matata.
Dr. Ikuo Hayashi, who for whatever reason he decided to wear these like long ass fucking plastic gloves that went like all the way up his
Smart.
arms.
That's what I do when I'm.
like those latex surgical gloves you used to
but
always see.
They
Like,
went
all the
up
way up.
past his elbows. So people were looking at him kind of weird, like, what the fuck's this guy doing?
You don't say.
But they all
Laser burns all in the gloves and stuff, like still smoking.
But they all five successfully punctured their bags of sarin, and by 8:15 a.m. they were in their getaway cars away back to the Aum Shinrikyo compound. And only one of them got any bit of the sarin in their system and had to take the antidote. The scene started like just trains full of people with colds, coughing, and having runny nose. And within a minute or so, people started collapsing to the ground.
Can you imagine what this scene would be like? Like if you're on the subway, it's
That's
already
scary.
crowded as it is.
Yeah.
Now everyone's like coughing up a lung and people are keeling over.
Well, I mean, people are throwing up. They're foaming at the mouth with blood and stuff.
Because clearly at that point you recognize that there's some sort of
Something's
attack.
happening,
Yeah.
Well, and because sarin is odorless, but when it's not pure like that, it gives off a smell. Like one witness said, it's like all of a sudden it started smelling like what did you say, mustard mixed with burning rubber. So they knew something was going on.
So they could smell it a little bit because it wasn't pure.
But the trains kept moving because the conductors didn't know. It took 3 stops before someone was able to hit the emergency button. But because everyone was so concerned about getting to work, like they can't, it's really efficient in Japan. Everyone's like, I'm getting on the train. So when people got on, and there was a movement. It was like rushing the gas around, so the gas would come out of the train and start affecting the people outside.
There's
as well.
pictures we'll post later this week of like there's people laying out on like the platforms waiting, and they're all just getting like medical treatment and stuff.
People who could walk rushed out of the subway system up to the streets, and like you kind of imagine this as like this panicked situation with people like screaming and running around or something, but like all accounts of it was like dead silent because the sarin removed anyone's ability to speak, so all that was heard was just people kind of slightly coughing and collapsing to the ground. Like it was just eerily silent.
Creepy.
Yeah. It took almost 2.5 hours before authorities figured out what was happening, and that was because a military doctor showed up and recognized that it was sarin gas poisoning. The attack ultimately killed 13 people, injured close to 6,000, and left around 2,500 with permanent neurological damage.
Only 13, huh?
Yeah.
That's strictly because of the 30% purity?
Yep.
Yeah.
So people had more time just to get away.
Yeah. If that would have been 100% pure sarin, that would have killed all those people that got injured. They would have all died. That would have killed.
So it was 6,000 deaths at least.
Yeah.
And probably even more, because if it was stronger, it might have affected more people who weren't affected by it at all. But if it was stronger, it would have. So I'm sure it would have been much higher.
Yeah, it's a terrifying. It's a really scary turn that the capabilities of Aum Shinrikyo. Over the next week, there were full raids done of Aum Shinrikyo compounds because.
Well, how did they tie it back to him?
Well, here's the thing too, is because in his sermons. In Shoko Asahara's sermons, he had like name checked Sarin a couple times in it, and he was walking around all the time yelling out 70 tons. And most of the followers were like, what's that mean? His thing was that he wanted to build a 70-ton sarin bomb, was another idea that he was coming up with. And they were already suspicious with the whole disappearance of Kiyoshi Korea, the guy that disappeared and was murdered. So it was like immediately the attention went on them. It's like, hey, that guy that was talking about sarin gas and now they're linked to murdering someone, So suspicion immediately went on to them.
Easy to connect.
Yeah. So they did full raids on the compounds, and everything they had been doing for the past 10 years was revealed. Among everything that they found in their stockpile of weapons, there was enough sarin to kill 4 million people. Like they had the chemical compounds to make enough sarin to kill 4 million people.
And probably would have if they could have kept going with it.
Oh, yeah. If this wasn't a rushed plan, out of desperation and not get caught, they would have eventually killed a lot of people. So with Shoko Asahara nowhere to be found, authorities arrested 150 cult members over the next 6 weeks just for various charges. And the media stationed outside the compound to report on all of it, but they were especially waiting for signs of Shoko Asahara. The investigations and arrests didn't stop Aum Shinrikyo from retaliating. On March 30th, 1995, the chief of Japanese National Police was shot in the back 4 times outside of his home at night, and he survived that attack. But
so they're still on the attack.
Oh, yeah.
God damn.
Yeah. And whoever shot that gun was like a fucking master at shooting. It was a .357 at night, and it was from a long distance away. Like,
so did he maybe not want to kill him then?
I don't know. From what I read, there's like only a few people in the world that could probably pull off being that precise with a .357.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
There's pee breaks, man. Got to get done quick somehow when I go kill. I'm a master marksman.
I thought you used a .44 Bulldog.
Yeah, I thought you were son of Sam. And
no, I'm not son of Sam. I've never claimed to be son of Sam.
I thought you emulated his MO.
No,
when you were
actually don't use weapons.
Murdering during your pee breaks.
I don't use weapons. I use nature and my fists. Make a show about me one day. It'll be better than Dexter. That's the name of the show, actually. Better than Dexter. I kill serial killers who kill serial killers. Boom. I just blew people's minds. So, like, isn't Dexter a killer who kills serial killers?
Yeah, but that means you let serial killers live.
Well, we have to have something to talk about on the show. A Necronama saint.
So on April 23rd, 1995, Aum's head of science, Hideo Maori, who we talked about on part one, he was stabbed to death outside of the compound in front of hundreds of reporters and on camera.
I saw that.
Yeah, they just fucking killed him.
Who killed him, though?
It was some Korean guy, and the motive has never been... Like, this guy did it and then never talked and said why he did it or what. You would assume that he was told to do that. On May 5th, 1995, a burning paper bag was found in the bathroom at one of Tokyo's subway stations. After the bag was put out, it was found to have been a hydrogen cyanide device that, if it hadn't been put out at the time it would have released gas, killing an estimated 10,000 people instantly. That wasn't even like the sarin, like 30%. You know, we don't know. That device would have killed 10,000 people instantly.
That's wild.
Yeah. So then finally, on May 16th, 1995, Shoko Asahara was found hiding in the walls of the main Tokyo compound and was arrested.
Was he levitating inside the wall?
I think
With those big thigh muscles?
they said, what did they say? He was sitting inside the wall, in between the wall, you know, like they had, like, I don't know if they just like plastered over a hole with, you know, like,
You can like see his nose still sticking through, his white wig hanging out.
but, yeah,
Did you guys see some of the comments on the pictures we posted of him levitating? Somebody
I
was
did,
like,
yeah.
"This is me when I get done eating Taco Bell." Someone else said that was then moments after eating White Castle. I didn't love that. Don't make fun of White Castle.
They said he was sitting in there. He had a tape recorder. I don't know if he was recording himself talking, and he had $100,000 in U.S. cash and a bunch of gold with him inside the wall.
Inside the wall.
Yeah. On the same day he was arrested, a bomb was mailed to the governor of Tokyo, which blew off the fingers of his secretary's hand. So I mean, they were just on the attack this whole time.
They're just trying to get everyone before they go down.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Shoko Asahara was found guilty of masterminding the attacks and was sentenced to death along with 12 other members of Aum Shinrikyo.
So out of these 40,000 whatever people in the cult, only 13 people got convicted? Are we saying only 13 people knew about these plans?
Of the attacks and murders. There were a bunch of other cult members that had gotten arrested for other like smaller shit, but yeah, they 13 altogether.
It's not many.
No,
Not a lot at all.
For such a widespread,
organization.
An organization, yeah.
After his arrest and conviction, Shoko Asahara officially stepped down as the leader of Aum Shinrikyo, and they were stripped of being recognized as a religion, and now they were labeled as a terrorist organization by most of the world.
Good.
To combat this terrorist label, the cult rebranded as Aleph, but fell under surveillance by the Japanese government. In January 2000, a law was passed called the Anti-Aum Law, which requires groups like Aleph to report their activities to the government. So they don't want to step on that whole religious freedom thing like we were talking about earlier,
right,
and get people freaked out. But if you're a group like this, you need to report like your assets, like what you're up to.
Sure.
Kind of.
If you tried to murder the whole town, I don't have a problem with that, maybe.
Right. They're like, hey, you changed your name, but you still, we got to keep an eye on what you're doing. They were to report monthly for 3 years, but in January 2003, the Japanese government found enough evidence that Aleph still very much believed in Shoko Asahara, and they were placed under another 3 years of surveillance.
So probably a wise move.
Yeah. On September 15th, 2006, Shoko Asahara lost his final appeal against the death penalty, and the following day, the Japanese police raided offices of Aleph in order to prevent any illegal activities by cult members in response to the confirmation of Asahara's death sentence. So
Smart.
Yeah.
I thought the people were going to riot
Or retaliate in some
attacks.
Yeah. On March 8th, 2007, Fumihiro Joyu, the former Aum Shinrikyo spokesman and head of Aum's Moscow operation, formally announced this long-expected split of the group. Joyu was going to take half of Aleph with him, and it was called Hikiri no Wa, which translates to Circle of Light. And they claim to have been committed to uniting science and religion and creating a, quote, the new science of the human mind. And they were aiming to get away from that whole criminal thing of wanting to kill everybody.
Reform themselves.
So that guy had no involvement in the plan to murder everybody?
I don't believe that, but I'm sure he, as a spokesperson of Aum Shinrikyo, he knew.
Right. Oh, I had no.
In April 2011, the Public Security Intelligence Agency stated that Aleph had about 1,500 members, and in July 2011, the cult reported its membership as 1,030. Aleph was reportedly active in trying to recruit new members via social media and on college campuses.
So I guess you can assume everyone's familiar with this story in Japan. So what are they luring people with? Like, what's the appeal now to draw them in?
You should attend a recruitment event that they have.
It's still, from what I saw, it's still young people that are like kind of disillusioned with society over there. And there's a lot of holdovers from Aum Shinrikyo. Like I was saying earlier, people, 95% of them didn't know, and most of those people were they just broken and brainwashed from this whole thing. They refused to believe that Shoko Asahara was responsible for anything like this. And there was lots of kids involved in the cult, and they were like trying to I guess assimilate, would that be the right word, back into regular society. Like there were some of these kids like were stories about like when the teacher would leave the classroom or something, they would come back and these kids would have like erased the teacher's name off the board and write Shoko Asahara's name and stuff.
Yeah.
So these kids it was very ingrained in a lot of people. Sometime after April 2013, the Public Security Intelligence Agency took a photograph inside one of Aleph's facilities. In this photograph, a bundle of papers was pierced with a knife on like this altar type object. So they're still doing this magical kind of shit. The papers included photographs of PSIA employees and directors, police officers, and lawyer Taro Takimoto, who helped followers leave Aum Shinrikyo. At least at this point.
And they already killed that one lawyer that we talked about last week, right?
Yes.
They went to his house and killed his family.
Yeah, that's Sasumi Sakamoto guy. And at least at this point in time, Aleph still displayed portraits of Shoko Asahara and demanded followers' dependents using videos of Shoko.
2013.
Yeah.
This was just 2 years ago.
So was that a hit list then?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Or at least it's because they were always this magical kind of group, this mix of willing things into existence with whatever, so I think at minimum it's a willing or attempting to will that into existence. On April 5th, 2016, the Investigative Committee of Russia announced that it had opened up a criminal case against Aum Shinrikyo followers and that its investigators, along with the Federal Security Service, were conducting raids in Moscow and St. Petersburg to confiscate literature, religious items, and electronic information. On September 20th, 2016, the Russian government officially banned Aum Shinrikyo in the country and declared it a terrorist organization. And I saw videos of those raids they had like some it looked like police cam kind of things from the Russian raids.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it looks like a fucking Aum Shinrikyo setup.
Only took 20 years.
Yeah, for them to ban it.
Yeah.
So on July 6, 2018, Shoko Asahara and 6 other members of Aum Shinrikyo were executed by hanging. And, this whole time, Shoko Asahara had been in solitary confinement. He was completely broken. What they call it, imprisonment psychosis, something along those lines.
Okay.
That his brain was just completely gone from sitting by himself for all those years.
Man, that'd be tough.
Understandable.
Yeah. It's kind of like karma's a bitch. He broke all those people, and
I don't feel bad for him.
Put him in the microwave, motherfucker.
They should have done. Put him in alive. Just let him burn up that
Like at
way.
the end of Last House on the Left.
Yeah. Japan had a lot of press conferences from the government warning people against any type of retaliation or anything for the execution of Shoko Asahara. And
Which, like the U.S. government warned about storming Area 51. Like, it would behoove you not to do that.
Yeah, it was more along the lines of it was more polite. It was like, please don't do that kind of thing. Like, it wasn't.
Japan's was?
Yeah, it wasn't like we're gonna fuck you
please
up.
Don't do that.
Right. And they keep it secret over there too, from what I was seeing about the death penalty, or when they carry out a death sentence, they don't tell anybody that they're doing it.
Oh, like when it's gonna happen?
When it just happens,
Like
and
that morning or something, right? Like, it's your day.
Yeah, and they don't even tell like the media or even family members of someone that's going to be sentenced to death. It just happens.
Can you imagine? And he lived how long after those attacks? 13 years. Every day you're waking up. No, this was 2018, right?
25 years.
25 years. Yeah, well, yeah, roughly.
All of them. There were
And
6 executed.
You just wake up every day not knowing if you're going to get killed that day.
Yeah, maybe that's the point.
I'd lose my mind too.
Maybe that's what you deserve when you try to kill 6,000 people.
I'm not saying,
I'm
not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying,
Maybe you don't get a last meal of 2 whole fried chickens, lobster, cherry cobbler, ice cream.
Is that your last meal?
I don't know.
There's a good conversation for us one day. What's
your last meal? That is a good conversation.
I don't think it doesn't sound like
I'd want
Japan
endless
gives you
shrimp
one.
from Red Lobster. Ha! Now you can't kill me, fuckers. It's endless shrimp. I'm eating forever.
That's your plan, huh?
It's my plan. When you live, what are you going to do? They can't tell you no. It's endless shrimp.
So
All the basic white girls out there would have bottomless mimosas. And they just drink those.
basic white girls.
They love brunch.
I love brunch, too.
I don't, because I'm not a basic white girl.
I mean,
It's just
sure.
it's just drinking in the morning on the weekends. I don't know what's wrong with that.
I wake up and do just that. And eat my leftover pizza or whatever from the night before. Pick my B-Dubs chicken wings up off the floor. And eat those.
Quarter can of SpaghettiOs cold.
No, I eat those all in one sitting. There's no leftovers with that. Only an idiot would save a can to the next day, then eat it. What do you want for your last meal? Just a cold can of SpaghettiOs with meatballs, please.
A Hot Pocket. Oh, I burned my fucking mouth.
Oh,
Damn it. It's never going to heal.
this is the worst day of my life.
On July 6, 2018, the following Shinrikyo members were executed by hanging: Shoko Asahara, Yoshiro Inouye, who was the head intelligence and chief coordinator of the subway attack; Tomomitsu Nimi, he was the getaway car driver; Tomomasa Nagagawa, he was one of the perpetrators of the Satsumi Sakamoto family murder that we talked about on part 1.
The lawyer, right?
Yeah. Kiyohide Hayawaka, he was construction minister. He was convicted of strangling one of the cult members in 1989. He was one of those first ones we talked about. I believe that victim went into that first contraption they built where the hot sand shot up.
Terrible.
Oof.
Sasichi Endo, which we just talked about, which was the head scientist that was making all the sarin solution. Masami Tsuchiya, Shinrikyo's chief chemist and director of the sarin gas manufacturing. Then the 6 remaining Shinrikyo members were executed on July 26, 2018. Yasuo Hayashi, Kenichi Hiroshi, Toru Toyota, Matsumoto Okiyama, Kazuki Okasaki, Satoru Hashimoto. Those were all members who carried out the subway attacks, and the Satsumi Sakamoto family murders.
Boom, dead.
Yeah, they hung them all. And I saw the room that they hang people in over there. It's not kind of looks like it's out of a horror movie. It's like this really run down, shitty ass looking place.
I guess they really don't need it to be nice.
No, but it does look like it's out of a horror movie. Like it's just this kind of basement, dark looking place. So.
What are you going to do?
Yep. Shoko Asahara's ashes will be collected by his youngest daughter, according to his will. She urged her relatives and cult members to, quote, put an end to the and stop hating society. The ashes will be kept at the detention center for the time being for fears of reprisals from other elements of the cult. So his ashes are still there. They don't
Still there, huh?
It's like a year and a half now.
Yeah, they're not giving them up because they don't want I mean, it's proven throughout all this time that they have a problem with this still, with people believing in him. And
sounds like it. Can we get the ashes for our studio, maybe? Can we buy them out from
Can we put in a bid for the ashes?
of Shoko Asahara.
Yeah,
That would be the shit.
I think we should do it.
What would we do with them?
Put them right there next to you on the shelf, and then that's it. They're just there, just a part of our studio.
Like how, just to show how current this really is. On January 1st, 2019, in Tokyo, Japan, this guy named Kisuro Kusakabe told authorities that he intentionally rammed into pedestrians with a car in retaliation for the execution of Shoko Asahara.
What a jag off.
Yeah. So it's very current, and people
So even this year, this continues.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where did all the assets go? This $1 billion from this cult. Who's got that money now?
I would assume Japan probably just took that. They're like, hey,
I think they took it all, confiscated it.
I would assume.
Well, at least they got they got what they had coming to them in the end.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Some of them.
Some of them.
The leaders, not like what Children of God, where they're still out there.
Family International, Mike.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I mean, the people that really committed the worst parts of what they did got what's coming to them. You know, all
The
the
leaders and the ones that planned it and
yeah, and
carried out the attacks.
right, and then the 3 guys that killed the whole Sakamoto family,
Right.
the baby and the parents. So,
Well, these cults are interesting to study.
yeah, I mean, this
They're
is
not
a
always the
fascinating
funnest stories, but
The scariest part about this is that all that technology is just out in the public domain, and if you have a competent, terrorist organization that not like these guys, they're going to fumble the whole thing,
right.
but an organization that knows what they're doing, I mean, they could do some serious damage to the world.
I mean, these guys are like kind of like a precursor to ISIS almost, in a way.
Yeah. If these guys weren't hopped up on LSD and knew how to fly a helicopter, we're having a completely different story right now.
Yeah, we would be talking about probably millions, thousands.
We probably wouldn't be
potentially
doing
millions.
a show on them because it would just be a terrorist group. I don't think we're going to be doing a show on ISIS anytime soon.
No, yeah. But that's, I mean, and I was watching stuff about because these guys are considered a death cult, and ISIS is lumped into a death cult with.
Are they?
As far as there's a guy named Rick Allen Ross who has wrote a bunch of books about cults and stuff, and he does all these lectures and things at colleges, and I was watching some of his stuff, and he considers ISIS a death cult.
Based on those videos, I don't disagree. I guess.
And they manipulate the belief system,
of course,
for their own.
Yeah.
Their
What's
own.
the difference? You're right.
Yeah, this is just a fascinating thing. How it just went from how it goes from this scammy thing to rip off nerds that want to learn how to levitate and
Yeah, right. Drink my bathwater and watch me levitate. So now we have helicopters and we're
And-
destroying Tokyo.
And join me for a cup of hair tea.
Air tea, exactly.
yeah,
That's a huge escalation.
yeah. Till we have enough
seriously.
stockpile to kill millions of people and
right.
And then actually do kill tens of people at least.
yeah, and sicken
Well, yeah,
Cause
injure
permanent damage.
Thousands
Yeah.
upon thousands.
Yeah, when I was watching stuff and reading stuff, there's like brutal injuries too, because the sarin gas can burn your eyes and stuff. Like I saw one lady that her eye contacts were like just like melted to her eyes, and she had to have her eyes removed.
Now
and
you're
stuff.
going to make my eyes water the rest of the night. I can't do that eyeball shit.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I mean just brutal stuff they cause to people.
My eyes are all watery now. Oh, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really
You had to save that for the end. Just slide that in there, didn't you? That's what she said.
it's a fascinating group though. And then it still goes on to this day. I mean, that they still have such a hold. Shoko Asahara still has such a hold on people even after he's dead. And then there's lots of people have that feeling of like that they're not going to get this true enlightenment without him still around.
Well, and now they see him as a martyr, I'm sure. And yeah.
They could be, doing sarin gas right now.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what they're up to? I mean, they're a shell of what they once were, but yeah, I mean, I mean, now with people like this guy in the beginning of the year who just decided to drive a car into a group of people, should have stayed as an anime plotline.
They were much cooler back then and drinking dude's bathwater or whatever they're doing with it.
Why do you want to kill the world when you found people that'll give you, $7,000 for bathwater?
Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
I would live that life.
Leave the world alone, man. Cash the checks, motherfucker.
Right. Just keep taking those baths and selling that water. And get paid.
Start believing your own hype, I guess, and
They always do.
all those drugs involved.
Yeah, I think the acid help.
Yeah, and the thing about doing all that acid, it's gonna cause permanent brain damage after
Absolutely
a while. I think after, I don't know how many hits it would take, but probably not too many to change your brain chemistry.
Sure.
So,
All right, Ian, you got anything else? Any closer ups for Shinrikyo?
no, I think I,
Hit all the hot spots?
yeah, I think that eye contact thing was the last little bit of information I had in my
Thanks
head.
for that.
Yeah, thank you. Dave, you got anything else?
No, that's a wrap.
Just a reminder, patreon.com/necronomipod. We would love if you could sign up. We got some awesome content coming up later this month. Next week, we're going to do a news story show. And then on Halloween, the return of Art Bell. That's going to be really fun. I think it's the most excited I've ever been for a show. I'll keep it in my pants for now, but I'm pretty excited about it. So anyways, patreon.com/necronomipod. Please check us out on there. We'd love to have you. We have a few new patrons we want to give a shout out to. Thank you very much to Katie Bird, Richard Ramirez, and Ty Johnson. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Hope you guys have been enjoying the bonus content. Ian, what you got? Anything from your end?
For iTunes, I have Respect, Crazy Lawnmower Guy, which he gave us that awesome review about Kevin Smith and Art Bell having sex. And
You should probably put that in better context for people,
what his review?
because otherwise they're just going to think.
Yeah. No, his review said that the show is if Kevin Smith and Art Bell had sex while watching the History Channel and made a baby.
That's a fantastic
I like it.
compliment.
Yeah.
Can we put that on a t-shirt?
And the very best. Thank you guys for the reviews.
Dave, what else you got for us?
On Instagram, PNW Pug. Thanks for that great photo shoot you
had an
did there
awesome
with
photo
the
shoot.
necro apparel.
Yeah.
Very cool. And on Twitter, Jordan. Thank you.
All right. We are on the socials at Necronomipod. Hit us up there. We love chatting with you guys. Let us know your thoughts, any recommendations you might want us to look into for shows. Not guaranteeing we'll do them, but we will check them out at the very least and look into it. And thanks for always listening.
All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.